Well, it's time for the monthly missions moment for the month of October. Looking forward to featuring 4 different missionaries today. We have 2 videos. We're excited about that. So let's get into the financial report for the month of October. Well, unfortunately, the month of October left us with a little shortfall. We had $2,254 come in for our missions program. And for our missionaries to be supported, we wrote out $2,400 worth of checks. That leaves us with a shortfall of $146. Designated funds, that's people giving to particular purposes, is $675. That comes in, goes right out. Well, that's why we did our missions conference for the month of November, is to re-stimulate our hearts towards missions. We need to give more, not less. Whenever there's a surplus, consistent surplus, you're going to see a missionary take that place. That's what I want to do. So I encourage you to reconsider what you're doing, and if you can, do more, because we want to get the gospel to places it currently is not. So that's the report for the month of October. Brother Glen and Miss Janet Seabass are our own personal missionaries out of our church with Rock of Ages Prison Ministry. Brother Seabass is one of the hardest working men I have ever met in my life. He is tremendously dedicated to getting the gospel into our prisons, our juvenile delinquent centers. He is just thinking way beyond the scope of prisons when it comes to getting the gospel to the incarcerated. And God has blessed his outreach, even among COVID-19. He did not let moss grow underneath of his feet. He advanced in his own personal credentials. And very recently, he was decorated as a captain by the, I believe it's referred to, I have it right here, United States Service Command chaplain. That gives him DOD clearance. It's another sort of opportunity for Brother Seabass to broaden his credentials so that more opportunities will open up. The guy just doesn't mess around. I mean, he is doing a tremendous work getting the gospel into the prison system, and there's tremendous results from it. So continue to pray for them. I would also ask you to pray for them personally, beyond their ministry, for their personal family. As you know, a church family, they are going through an awful lot, a tremendous amount, with Marissa's brain tumor, their daughter. So remember the family in prayer, remember the ministry in prayer. And even just recently, Brother Seabass' father fell, broke his hip, and he has dementia, and there's a lot of different complications that they've experienced as a result of that. All these things are very burdensome. So I ask you to pray for the Seabass family, their commutes back and forth to the hospital, and to all the added expenses is enormous. If you want to be a blessing to any of our missionaries this particular month, I would encourage you to be a blessing to the Seabass family. Their personal expenses have well more than quadrupled with all of the added costs associated with caring for their daughter. So remember the Seabass family, remember Rock of Ages Prison Ministry out of our church here, especially in our local area. So remember them, if you will, in prayer. And God bless you, Brother Seabass. We love you, and we appreciate all that you do for your ministry as well as for Tri-City Baptist Church. The Leonard family, missionaries to the Fiji Islands. Well, Brother Leonard was good enough to prepare a video for us. He and his family have taken the time out of their schedule to make it a little bit more animated and more clear. So let's just let Brother Leonard tell of his recent updates in the Fiji Islands.
Bula! Bula! Bula!
Bula,
Bula!
thank you for your prayers and support as we work here in Salvo Salvo. Just to give you a quick update on how things have been going since we arrived here in January. 6 months we were in the capital city of Suva. During that time COVID hit, and for 4 months we were under some light restrictions, no inter-island travel and things of that nature. And then during the 4 months we had a 2-week quarantine period where we weren't allowed to leave the city of Suva. We're thankful that we had prepared for that and were able to stay home during that time and not get out and not have to deal with any of the restrictions as far as that goes. In the month of July, they began to open up the inter-island travel, and I was able to make a trip to the second largest island of Vanalevu and then over to the third largest island of Tavuni to scout out housing options and to see where God wanted us to go next. While I was on Tavuni, I learned that the housing expenses are a lot higher than we anticipated, and so I began looking in the city of Savu Savu on the second largest island of Vanalevu. And while I was there, I was able to meet a local pastor who's been working on starting a church here in Savu Savu, and talk with him, and we prayed about it and decided that God wanted us to come here and help Brother Jonathan McPherson with his work in Savu Savu. And so I got back to Suva at the middle of July, and the 1st of August the family and I moved over here to Savu Savu to help Brother Jonathan with his work, and we're excited about it. We were able to get a storefront a couple weeks ago to start holding services in. We've been working on that, getting it cleaned up. You'll see some pictures of that in our next prayer letter. And we're excited about what God's going to do here in the city of Savu Savu. And then while we're working here, we're looking at branching out to some of the villages close by and reaching out to them and seeing if God will open the door for us to begin working there. So just continue to pray for the work here. Thank you so much once again for your support and your prayers. We greatly appreciate it during this time, and may the Lord bless you. Have a good day.
Glen and Deborah Holman. This couple has been tremendously faithful for decades to a very, very difficult field. They serve the Native Americans of the Northwest, and this is not an easy area to serve. The reward is very, very low, but yet somebody has got to take the gospel to the Native American Indians. Brother Holman writes in his September letter of an 80-year-old gentleman named Ken that was recently saved and has been very, very faithful, and he celebrates that in his letter. The work on the reservation is progressing, he says, and even amid the COVID-19 pandemic that has occurred. They're back in services, they're in their building, and he says they're about 80% back to the capacity that they were at before. Continue to pray for Brother Glen and Miss Deborah Holman as they serve the Native American Indians of the Northwest. Brother TJ, Miss Krista Kimmel, being used of God in indigenous areas to support pastors, national pastors in those areas. And so God has been tremendously blessing through core missions, what TJ has founded. And so he's prepared a video for you, so let's watch it together.
Hey Tri-City, this is TJ Kimmel with Core Missions. I want to thank you for personally supporting my family and our ministry as we do our best to partner with you in reaching the world with the gospel of Christ by supporting pastors in remote villages, helping them start churches and train their people to reach their own people. 2020 has been a crazy year. Nothing has been consistent, everything has changed, but you have remained faithful to supporting not only our family, but other families all around the world. And I want to take just a special moment to thank you specifically for investing in us, for believing in us, for praying for us, so that we can continue to serve the Lord in the capacity that He has called us. So I want to give you a couple little highlights of what happened in 2020 and what we're praying for in 2021. We started our second year at our Bible college in the Philippines. God's continued to bless that even through this pandemic and all the lockdowns that the Philippines are seeing. The college was able to start up on time and with some restrictions, of course, but they're being trained to go and disciple others and to start churches. Right before shooting this video, I got a message from our pastor in the Philippines, and he's saying, we're praying about the second semester and looking forward to talking with him about putting plans in place to see how we can expand that. Continue praying for the pastors in the Philippines. We support several pastors throughout many different islands there. They experience some severe lockdowns, but they're starting to see those restrictions lifted. One of our pastors actually had been arrested on multiple occasions because he was going out trying to give rice and food to those in his community. One of the exciting things through all of this is seeing how effective the national pastors can be in their own communities. While Americans around the world either had to come off the field or come home, or were really, really locked down because the government knew where they were, oftentimes the nationals are able to navigate around some of those policies a little bit and to negotiate with the police a little bit. And one particular pastor who had been arrested on more than one occasion was able to talk to the police. And one particular time, one of the men that arrested him, his partner was witnessed to by our missionary or by our pastor. And so once the main officer left, the other officer let him out of prison because he knew he was doing a good cause. And so we can tell you stories about Mexico, how God has opened doors for pastors to continue to meet in different areas. And really what we've seen through this, besides God continuing to work and continuing to use missionaries and national pastors and churches in America, we've seen national churches expand and grow because they are the ones oftentimes in the community that are still going out and trying to reach their people. And so it's neat to see these small churches grow because of their influence. In 2021, we have several plans. We're moving forward like there are no restrictions, and we pray that we're able to continue traveling again. We start off with a trip to India. Big trip to India, 3 or 4 different locations. We'll be meeting with different groups of pastors. Somewhere between 50 to 75 pastors will be meeting with our village pastors that are reaching their communities without any support at all. So we'll be meeting with them, looking how we can help continue to train them and help them start churches. We'll be going back to the Philippines, actually multiple trips to the Philippines to meet with the college out there, meet with the college students, see how we can help them expand and start more churches and train more. But also we'll be meeting with different pastors to see how we can help them and help them reach their community. We already have trips scheduled to Jamaica. We have trips scheduled to Cuba, to Mexico, and all of those are mission trips like your church has taken with us, where we go into the communities, hold vacation Bible schools, sports outreaches, just to try to help the church get to know about help the village, the community get to know about the church, to kind of infuse new life into that. Would you pray with us? Not only with us, but also other missionaries, that we can continue to travel again freely, that the doors will open, the restrictions will be lifted so we can get out there back onto the field. Thank you for praying again for our family. While things have dramatically changed internationally for us, we're still able to raise support here for pastors. We've seen more support come in, more new support come in for pastors this year than any year we've ever seen. We've taken on more pastors for support than we've ever taken on in any one calendar year. So it's amazing, and it shows that only God can do it. Sometimes when we remove ourselves from the picture, we can really see what God can do. And so just next weekend, I'll be traveling again to another church, preaching mission conference. And so we're excited to be getting on the road there. Thank you again for praying for us. We look forward to seeing you in person.
And that's the monthly missions moment for the month of October. Great news. Pastor Cruz of Truth Baptist Church has informed us that his church is completely autonomous. That means they need no more support from our church or any other church, and so they have requested that we stop supporting them. That is a good news. That is a good word for us, because that tells us that Truth Baptist Church is on its own feet. It's standing on its own legs. Praise God for that. That's a great testimony. And looking forward to our days ahead with new church plans. Well, until next month, we'll see you back for another monthly missions moment for the month of November.